I'm Adajean and welcome to the Weekly Report. I'm here with David McSweeney. We're going to be talking about sports and the impact in Cohasset High and the impact they had with COVID. So, David, tell us, what sports are you a part of?
I'm a baseball player.
All right, interesting. With your team and obviously baseball, what regulations have you seen impacted that way to keep everyone safe?
So last spring, obviously, we were in shutdown. We didn't have a spring season last year, unfortunately. I was able to play club baseball in the summer, which was exciting. A lot of great time getting back out there. And you have to wear, when you're in the dugout, they make you wear a mask most of the time. And when you're on the field, baseball's pretty distant most of the time. So when you're out there, you don't have to wear one unless you're next to a runner on a base or something like that. If you come within the 6 feet, you have to put it on. But other than that, when you're in the dugout, you got to wear it. But when you're on the field, you can take it off.
Interesting. And to your knowledge, has most of your team and teammates obviously been abiding these rules?
Yeah, they have. Our teams are very good about it. The facilities we play at too are pretty strict about it as well. So we've been able to go by those pretty well.
Well, it's very good that we're keeping everyone safe.
Mm-hmm.
But if there is anything you would or want to add, would you add anything to the COVID restrictions to make anyone safer?
I think the regulations they have now are where they need to be. The only other thing that they could do is cancel games, which I don't want to happen, obviously, because what's summer without baseball, you know what I mean? And that's pretty much all I had to say about it. And the regulations are good where they are.
It's a very all-American sport, and I'm glad we can keep everyone
Yeah.
safe. Especially with your sport, and as we've seen with COVID, do you think that we'll be all right to start again next spring with everything going forward, hopefully with this vaccine coming out?
I think we will. I think we'll have a spring season. I do. With new vaccines coming out, obviously Pfizer and Moderna are out, and I hear Johnson & Johnson's coming out pretty soon, so those will have a huge impact on whether we can play or not, and things are looking pretty promising, so I think we'll be able to have a season.
Well, we very much look forward to you playing, and, well, we hope that you have the best going forward with your sport.
Thank you.
Especially, just one last question while we still have you here.
Of course.
With your coach and your team, are there any drawbacks, specifically playing the sport, that are just uncomfortable, honestly, with this?
I would say the only bad thing with them is the mask, because I would say you sweat more and it's a little hard to breathe through them sometimes, but other than that, I have no complaints.
Well, thank you very much for coming in today and giving us your opinion on the sport. Welcome back. I'm joined here with Mr. Sasso, and he was a previous coach before COVID, and we're going to ask him some questions. How are you today, Sasso?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Good.
I just wanted to bring you in here to ask you a couple questions about your experience coaching and how, especially because you've seen it from a previous coach's perspective, or how it's happening right now in COVID.
It seems like all the sports are going to happen. Football was put off. I'm not sure about wrestling, but I'm happy to hear that they are going to play football. Even though, it seems like in the locker room or maybe during practice is when, people have come in close contact, and some sports have had to close down for a week or two. But I think if teams and coaches are really cautious, we'll be fine. We can get through a little bit of a season. Even if football doesn't play a whole season, for example, they got a couple games in. For the seniors, it's better than nothing, because that kind of social aspect of sports that you don't necessarily get in school, where you're unified with your team and you're fighting for a common goal to win a game, and it just has a real positive effect on kids. So I think that we can still have that. Just going to have to be wearing masks and stuff, and obviously rules have changed a little bit in lots of the sports too. So
I was talking to some seniors previously, and they talked about scholarships. Do you think we'll be concerned for losing scholarships because of COVID?
Yeah, I don't know many facts about that, but I imagine that if, let's say, a lacrosse player who wanted to go to lacrosse school, missed last season because we didn't have lacrosse last season, now they're a senior, by the time their senior season comes around, they've probably already been accepted to schools. So the recruiting process has definitely changed. So it might have a negative effect on some of those kids, and hopefully, if they do good their senior year, maybe they'll go to college and play as a freshman. They might be able to get a scholarship their sophomore year if they didn't get one freshman year.
Well, let's hope for the best for that, and we all wish them luck. Just in your personal opinion, do you think it was worth opening up sports again, even though there is a high risk?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like schools or restaurants. You know, we know that there's a risk. No matter what we do, the risk is out there. We can't bring ourselves to zero risk unless we sit in our rooms for a year, and we don't want to do that. So as long as we can minimize the risk as much as possible, then people will feel okay about saying, okay, I'm going to take this small risk so that we get the benefits of the social emotional piece of kids being able to interact with each other and be on a sports team. Like I said, sometimes kids that play sports get that social aspect during practice and during games, being with their teammates, that they don't get even in school as much. There's definitely a different kind of atmosphere when you're playing sports. So I think you always, with everything right now, you got to weigh the positives and the negatives. Is the risk as low as we can get it to be? And since it's that low, is the benefit worth the risk? And I think for most athletes, they would say that. I think that is, as long as we're wearing masks and we social distance as much as possible on the sidelines and things like that. Let them play, yeah.
It's interesting perspective, especially off that. And with the new developments of the Pfizer vaccine and all these vaccines coming out, do you think by next fall of 2021 we'll have sports as normal, or do you think we'll keep some of the regulations?
Yeah, I do, and that's just my hopeful thinking. But I think by next fall we'll be back, full-time in school and playing sports, and hopefully either by fall or soon after we'll get to the point where the only time you're wearing a mask is when you're not feeling great. It's like you have a cold, it's probably a cold, but you should wear a mask. But hopefully the rest of the time, after we have enough people vaccinated, we'll be able to lose the masks too, unless, you're having a bad day and you don't feel good. Oh, I have a cough, let me put a mask on, something like that. But yeah, I'm very hopeful that we're gonna get to the other side of this by next fall, hopefully, and sports will be back and school will be back and be back to semi-normal.
Well, thank you very much for being on the show, Sasso. It was very interesting having your perspective.
Thank you very much for having me, Ada.
And thank you for tuning in. We hope to see you the same time next week, and have a nice night.